Colts Nation, Lucas here, and man, I am feeling the weight of this offseason tonight. Look at Jonathan Taylor. He's our heart, our soul, but we're running him into the ground, guys. Ever since Zach Moss left for Cincy, there's been this gaping hole in our backfield that Trey Sermon or Seth McGowan just hasn't filled yet. It's scary. But what if I told you a familiar face, a Pro Bowler who thrived under Shane Steichen, is sitting right there? We're talking about a move that changes everything. Stick around, because this backfield battle is getting intense. Before we get into the meat of this, I gotta ask you for a huge favor. We are pushing for 3,000 subscribers here on the channel, and the energy you guys are bringing is just incredible. If you bleed blue and white like I do, hit that button and join the tribe. Now, let's talk about the elephant in the room. Jonathan Taylor's longevity. We all love JT. He's a generational talent, a total beast who puts the team on his back every single Sunday. But be honest with me, every time he goes down at the bottom of a pile, don't you hold your breath just a little bit. We've seen what happens when he doesn't have a reliable partner. When Zach Moss was here in 2023, things felt different. He stepped in for 8 games, racked up nearly 800 yards, and actually kept our playoff hopes alive while JT was healing up. But Moss is in Cincinnati now, and the drop-off we've seen since he left is honestly terrifying. Coach Shane Steichen has been trying everything to find that lightning to JT's thunder. We've seen Trey Sermon get some looks, Tyler Goodson flash some speed, and even a veteran like Amir Abdullah try to find his footing in this system. But let's be real, none of those guys have grabbed the job and said, "This is mine." It feels like we're just throwing darts at a board and hoping something sticks, while JT just keeps taking hit after hit. It's the biggest risk we're taking right now. We drafted Seth McGowan out of Kentucky in the 7th round, and look, I love the kid's build. He's a big, physical back who could theoretically hammer defenses, but he's already 24. By the time the season starts, he'll be 25. He's a rookie with the body of a veteran, which is cool for immediate impact. But is he really the answer to protecting our franchise cornerstone? We need more than just a body. We need a weapon. We need someone Steichen trusts implicitly. And that's where this conversation gets really interesting for our backfield. The search for a counterpart isn't just about stats. It's about survival in a brutal AFC South. We need a veteran presence who can handle the pressure. And here's the thing that really keeps me up at night. Steichen's system is high octane, but it's punishing for a primary ball carrier. We've seen Shane ride Jonathan Taylor until the wheels literally fall off. And as much as I love JT's heart, we cannot do that for 17 games plus a playoff run. It's not fair to him, and it's dangerous for the franchise. But then, you start looking at the available options, and you realize the answer might be buried in the past. Now it gets interesting, because there is a name floating out there that makes almost too much sense. Let me explain. When Shane Steichen was calling the shots in Philly, he had a guy who just clicked. It wasn't just about talent. It was about rhythm. It was about knowing exactly where the hole was going to open before the snap even happened. Right now, the Colts' backfield feels like a puzzle with a missing piece. We have the star, we have the young hopefuls, but we lack that veteran presence who has been through the fire of a deep playoff run under this specific coaching staff. I'm looking at this roster, and I see a lot of maybe and not enough definitely. The pressure is mounting. If McGowan doesn't transition fast, or if Sermon can't find that extra gear, we are one bad luck play away from a season-altering disaster. We've all felt that pit in our stomachs before. That's why the front office has to be looking at every possible avenue to inject some proven production into this room. We can't just hope the rookie is the next Zach Moss. We have to ensure we have a fallback plan that actually works. And honestly, the more I think about it, the more I realize that the perfect complement to JT isn't some unknown variable. It's someone who has already proven he can be an elite producer when Shane is the one pulling the strings. It's a pivot that feels both nostalgic and incredibly practical. We are talking about a guy who knows the terminology, knows the expectations, and knows exactly what it feels like to be a Pro Bowler in this exact offensive philosophy. It's time to look at the homecoming that could save JT's legs. I'm talking about Miles Sanders. Now look, I know what some of you are thinking. Lucas, it's been 4 years since he was that guy. And you're not wrong. 4 years in the NFL is a lifetime, especially for a running back. But man, look at the history here. In 2022, when Steichen was the offensive coordinator for the Eagles, Miles Sanders was an absolute flamethrower. He put up over 1,200 rushing yards and 11 touchdowns. He was averaging nearly 5 yards a carry. That was the season Steichen really took over the play-calling duties and turned that offense into a juggernaut. Sanders didn't just stumble into a Pro Bowl. He earned it because Shane knew exactly how to use his vision and his burst. And here's the kicker. Even though Sanders has bounced around to Carolina and Dallas since then, that connection with Steichen is something you can't just teach. It's muscle memory. Now, I'm not saying Miles Sanders comes in here and takes JT's job. That's crazy talk. JT is the king of Indy. But imagine a world where Sanders is the change of pace guy. Imagine a defense finally getting a breather after trying to tackle JT for 2 quarters, only to have a fresh Miles Sanders who knows this system like the back of his hand come flying through a gap. That is the kind of depth that wins divisions. People forget that Sanders was also a huge threat in the passing game early in his career. He had over 500 receiving yards as a rookie. While that production has dipped, the skill set is still in there somewhere. If anyone can extract that latent talent and turn it back into a weapon, it's Shane Steichen. He's a quarterback whisperer, sure, but he's also a run-game mastermind. The logic here is so sound it almost hurts. We need competition, we need experience, and we need someone who won't blink when the lights get bright in December. Sanders has been to the Super Bowl. He's played in the biggest games. Putting him in a room with a young guy like McGowan and a superstar like JT, that's how you build a championship culture. It's about more than just yards. It's about the mental edge and knowing the system's deep secrets. I'm not going to lie to you guys, there is a massive but in this story. The biggest concern with Miles Sanders isn't his talent, it's his health. He's coming off 2 straight years of major ankle issues. He had surgery last season with the Cowboys after playing only 4 games. The year before that in Carolina, same thing. It's heartbreaking to see a guy with that much talent sidelined by the same recurring injury. So, I get why some of you might be skeptical. You're thinking, Lucas, why bring in more injury risk when we're trying to protect JT? But listen to the logic here. We aren't talking about signing him to a massive, back-breaking contract. We are talking about the veteran minimum. A team-friendly, prove-it deal. If he comes to training camp and his ankle isn't right, or he's lost that half step of explosiveness, you move on. No harm, no foul. But if he's healthy, if that chondral tissue graft surgery actually worked, and he feels like his old self, you just got a Pro Bowl caliber backup for pennies on the dollar. In those 4 games he played for Dallas last year, he was actually averaging nearly 6 yards a carry before he got hurt. The spark is still there, guys. I can see it. And let's be honest, the current competition in our backfield isn't exactly a group of all pros. If the choice is between an unproven 25-year-old rookie and a former Pro Bowler who already knows the playbook, I'm taking the vet every single time to push the room. It's about creating an environment where nobody's spot is safe. I want Seth McGowan to have to earn his reps against a guy like Sanders. I want Trey Sermon to feel the heat. That's how you get the best out of your roster. This isn't a savior move, it's a smart business move. It's about building a wall of protection around our season. If JT misses 2 series, I don't want the offense to stall out. I want a guy who can step in and keep the chains moving without Shane having to simplify the calls. It's about confidence. It's about knowing we have options. Because at the end of the day, this season rests on the shoulders of the run game. We must improve. At the end of the day, Colts Nation, we have to protect our investments. Jonathan Taylor is the engine, but even the best engines need oil and maintenance. We've spent the last few off-seasons trying to find that perfect backup, that guy who can carry the load so JT doesn't have to do it all alone. Whether it's the young blood in Seth McGowan or a veteran reunion with Miles Sanders, one thing is clear. The status quo isn't enough. We need that spark. We need that competition in training camp to bring out the absolute best in this roster. I truly believe that bringing Sanders back into Steichen's orbit is a low-risk, high-reward gamble that could be the steal of the summer. It's about hope, it's about depth, and it's about finally finishing what we started. But what do you think? Are you down for a Sanders reunion, or do you think we should trust the young guys we already have? Let me know in the comments. I read every single one. Thanks for being the best community in the NFL. Let's get to 3,000 subscribers. I'm Lucas, and as always, go Colts. Colts Nation.